Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so Budenholzer, 5-year, $50 million deal. 50 mil, coach, I'm not thinking is too much, but the 5 years is a hell of a commitment, given the fact they gave 4 years to Vogel, and it basically turned into nothing, to be honest with you, because they ended up firing him after the first year of that contract. So I know they're one of those franchises that have a very, very rich owner, richer than most. So forking over this amount, this amount really isn't that big of a deal. But it just seems to me that a 5-year commitment, when you just gave a 4-year commitment, seems like you're making mistakes here if you're the Phoenix Suns. I don't doubt that Budenholzer could be somebody you want to keep for 5 years. I don't also doubt that he could be somebody you want to get rid of in 2 years. I don't know why people keep signing these coaches to these long-term deals that you have to pay out whether they're coaching or not. You just end up overlapping deals over and over again. And if people haven't watched the Lakers make these mistakes over the last 3 coaches, I don't understand why they wouldn't learn. I don't get it. But nevertheless, maybe it works out for Phoenix. I definitely think he's probably the hottest name on the market, I guess is what you could say, for coaches. So I know the bidding war probably made it so that he was able to demand more years than what probably would be asked. I mean, at the end of the day, he could probably say, yo, I'll just take the Laker or the Washington job if you don't give me my 5 years. So I get it. I just wouldn't have did it. But I understand it. So they got their man. D'Lo Russell is also going to be opting out of his deal. As we reported on the possibility of that, it looks like that's going to be what's being reported now. So we'll run with it. I still don't quite understand why he would do that, to be honest with you. I guess they consider him having a fantastic regular season would be something that should get him a better deal in the marketplace. But I'm not going to lie to you, man. Any team that wants to pay, put it like this, if I'm paying $20 million for a player who can do what D'Lo does, I'm trying to make the playoffs. And if what we just saw over the last 3 years is any indication of what I can expect from him from the playoffs, I'm not paying him that. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know what franchise is not thinking that way, but he's going to have to find one that's not, in my opinion. And many say, well, he had a fantastic regular season. If that's what you care about, you know what I mean? If that's what you care about, then cool. Maybe you can get 25, 30 million from someone. But I think he's going to regret opting out of that deal. I don't think he's going to find more. And I think he probably would have did better opting in and then asking for a signing trade, from which I'm sure the Lakers would get him somewhere. I'm sure they would. I don't think that would be difficult for him to be able to secure that bag and secure another team. So we'll see what the market does, man. I don't think it's gonna be that friendly. I mean, he may get what he opted out of. He may be able to get 19, 20. But if I'm not mistaken, he was due 20 or 21 or something like that. So I don't know. I thought his deal was around $20 million. So maybe he can tack on some years. Then what? You know what I mean? Maybe that's what it is, rather than approach free agency again. And if he's thinking that way, then I amend my thought. Maybe he can get more years. Probably have to take less money. Maybe he even renegotiates with the Lakers for more years, less money. A lot of people may want to rule that out, but just because I'm not happy with the contract I have doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to go for more dollars. It may just mean I want more security. So it's a lot of things to consider there. But what's being said is he's opting out of the contract he has there. And so we'll see if that's what he's thinking. Maybe more years. Maybe more years. We'll see what comes about. But as far as the dollar amount, I have my skepticism about how happy he's going to be with the dollar amount he's offered based on what he just displayed in the playoffs. So yeah, man, it is what it is. We'll see how the market plays him. And what else is going on out there? Lakers are going to be starting their coaching search next week in regards to interviews. I understand that JJ is going to interview who else? Adelman, as we talked about in my Laker rant, which I didn't know was going to turn into a rant, but it did. Encourage all of you guys to check that out as soon as it uploads, which should be coming up any minute now. And Who else? The assistant coach from the Denver Nuggets, David Adelman, I believe his name is. Rick Adelman's son, of course. But that will be the list that I've heard the Lakers are interested in interviewing next week. If I had to choose one, it would probably be the Adelman guy. It probably would be. JJ Redick concerns me just like everybody else. I love his basketball acumen. I think he would be a great play caller. Having him in our organization to play call is exciting to me. If you can have him drawing up plays, coming out of timeouts and all that type of stuff, I think he'll be excellent in that role. But when you start talking about having him be your head coaching guy, managing different personalities, managing superstars like LeBron James and Anthony Davis, I don't know if they're going to respect him like he's going to want to be respected. Yeah, that's my concern. And you don't have the experience, and the expectations are high. So what are we talking about? When the pressure gets high and we're going up against the Boston Celtics in an overtime situation, I'm listening to him, who would have otherwise been a role player on this team. I just think he's going to run into a cachet pecking order type of thing that's going to have it so that those guys are going to be a louder voice than him. And I just don't think that anyone wants to sign up for that. Anybody. I think he would be better getting established as a coach in the assistant ranks, for which if this fails, he's going to find himself in any damn way. Or a worse path is him getting in here and it fails, and then no one wants to offer him another job because it fails so bad, which I honestly don't think it's going to be that bad. But my concern is just he's not going to be able to manage those egos. Once things start getting bad from an organizational standpoint and the team's not performing at the level that we want to perform, will he keep it together, or will he be a deterrent to the chemistry? And I don't know. The answer is going to be favorable, judging by what I'm picking up on his personality. I don't know that we're going to be very happy with him if our team is trash and we're looking to him to keep everybody together. You know what I mean? And so that's just my own personal take. And JJ Redick comes off as a cynical guy at times, rub people the wrong way. I don't think he'll get into it with LeBron James or AD, but I can see him getting into it with a Rui Hachimura or something like that. You know, that kind of thing. So I don't really, like I said earlier in my video, I think if you bring him the right assistant coaches that have had head coaching experience, let somebody kind of be right next to him who's done this job at a pretty solid level, who can kind of mentor him as his assistant, I think that's the better way to go. Just like we did with Frank Vogel when we brought in Jason Kidd and Lionel Hollins. It was a lot of pushback that we shouldn't be bringing in those type of high-level guys next to a guy like Frank Vogel, who had already coached at a high level, but we won a championship that year. So I really do think that, when something proves it works in that way, maybe it would be a great idea to have that type of coaching staff around you, and then you consider the specifics of how well that worked in the bubble. Specifically, I think if the head coaching and the assistant coaching positions would have been worse off, we probably wouldn't have won in the bubble where it required so much focus. So I'm just a big proponent of bringing in ex-coaches as your assistant coaches when you have a guy like JJ Redick, a rookie, or a guy like Darvin Ham. That's probably a smarter way to play it. So that's just my point of view. I really think that. So yeah, we'll see what the Lakers do. I think, I would be very happy to see JJ get a head coaching job. I think I would probably be more excited than frustrated about his hiring as a Laker coach, to be honest with you. Especially looking at the names that are out there. I actually wouldn't mind having someone that I trust thinks the game as well as he does in place. But then again, how scared is that by the idea that I get to hear him talk about the game all day long? If I had a chance to hear David Adelman talk the game all day long, every day on different platforms, maybe I'd be in love with his basketball acumen too. It's just that we've been exposed to his based on him being in the public eye, talking basketball every day. So I like JJ Redick. And if he does get a head coaching position, I think I'll miss him on the internet talking basketball. But, it is what it is, man. I think what he has proven by being successful in this internet world is that he can take on a job, a new position, and flourish in it. Multiple things he's been good at. So why wouldn't he be good at the head coaching position? I think that really works in his favor. But I don't know if that's a perfect way to approach hiring a guy, to be honest with you. Just because he's good at this and this doesn't mean he's going to be good at that. But that he's shown he could be good at new things really quickly makes you think that he could probably flourish in this. So I think that's kind of along the lines of the thinking there. But yeah, that's the latest with that. As I said, D'Lo's expected opted out. I think I already said that. We already know that. Okay, so that's about as much Laker conversations I want to have. But I did want to talk about a few other things going on in the league. Tonight, of course, you got the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers playing Game 3, followed by the Western Conference matchup, the OKC Thunder. I believe they're playing their game tonight. No, it's even better. The one we're most interested in, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and of course the Denver Nuggets, who knocked us off in 5 games. So those are your 2 matchups. And first of all, I want to talk about the Knicks a little bit. My key to the New York Knicks was OG Anunoby's health. And for their sake, thank goodness they won the first 2 games of this series at home, so they can have the cushion of what I think could probably be a tough stretch for them going forward. They lost Mitchell Robinson, injury-prone player that you know damn well you can't rely upon. And OG Anunoby, another injury-prone player you know damn well you can't rely upon. They picked 2 of the worst players to rely upon injury-wise you can think of, and put them in a system where the coach only wants to play 5 guys at like 40 minutes apiece. Those are the 2 worst people to have in that situation I could possibly think of, y'all. Mitchell Robinson should have been traded for someone they could rely upon. OG Anunoby, you really love his game, but as I told people, if you're not prepared for him to miss half the season every season, you're not doing it right. He gets credited for having an NBA championship. And I may be wrong about this, but I don't believe I am. But the year they won the championship, he was hurt. He didn't play that final series. He wasn't on the floor. And so for me, it's like them giving up 4 first-round picks and 2 really good players in RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley for OG Anunoby. On basketball, on the floor for their team and how they set it up, it makes sense. But in terms of what you're giving up versus what you're getting back, hell no, it makes sense. It was a terrible trade. I think he fits better than those 2 for what it is they're trying to do. And I don't know that they are where they are now if he wasn't a part of what they were doing leading up to this. He fits that well, and I thought he would. But you can't afford for him not to be out there at all if you're the Knicks. And that was my problem with picking the Knicks. Even though I did pick them in 7, the caveat was that OG Anunoby play the whole series and be healthy throughout the whole series. And I told y'all that that's not a good bet, because he don't stay healthy for longer than 3 weeks of a season before he's hurt again. Every 3 weeks he's hurt and he's out for 3 weeks. This is how this works with him. And that's not necessarily meaning me that I'm paying that close attention to him. It's just that I've played attention to him from afar and always knew to never pick him up in my fantasy team, because that's how it went. Every time I owned him, that's how it went. And so for me, it's like when you pay attention to a guy and that's the pattern, the last thing you want to do is bring him to a team that only wants to play him 48 minutes as their starting small forward, and then have him doing all this pushing around against players that potentially are bigger than him. And then on the other end, they want him to score like 30 points. It's like, no, that's the horrible role for that particular piece, even though he's the perfect fit for the team. It's a horrible role for the guy, because he's bound to get hurt, especially playing that many minutes. So my thinking was, you got to have expectations of him not being on the basketball floor. And sure enough, here we are, he's out. And so that's what I think the Knicks really messed up, man. Investing so much in OG Anunoby, letting themselves get fleeced that hard for a piece that if they were doing the homework I was doing over the last several years, OG Anunoby would have known damn well there was a good chance this happened. Damn well. In fact, you're surprised he made it this far through the playoffs. That's how real that is. You talk about injury prone, You ain't going to find a player more injury prone in the Eastern Conference than that dude right there. And a lot of times people get hurt for longer, worse injuries. But I'm telling you, it's like clockwork with this man. And so for me, I don't know if there's a perfect way to handle it, because of course he's a great piece for them. But this is what caps their ceiling off. Now you have to wonder if they have enough, even with all those, overachieving, try hard, energy guys playing all these minutes all season long so they're conditioned properly. You have to wonder if they actually have enough right now until he gets back. And he's already been ruled out of game 3 and 4. And Mitchell Robinson's ruled out for the entire series. So it's like, even though the Knicks are up 0-2, thank goodness they are, for those of us who are rooting for the Knicks, for which I am, you can't possibly expect for them to win both of these games in Indiana. You can't, if they do, great. And mind you, I didn't even mention that Brunson is questionable for tonight's game because of his hamstring. And this is what happens when you run everybody 48 minutes a game, fam. It's like, it works until it doesn't. Players play a lot of basketball as is. And while there is a lot of value in conditioning players to play 48 minutes a game, injuries still take place. And as they do, it becomes less of a positive that they're on the floor so much, because they're never actually healing from these injuries. That's the part that I do not think Budenholzer gives enough respect toward. You got these guys on the floor too much. And while they're getting in great shape, once that ankle rolls and you still want to run them like that, that's when it starts going the other way in regards to the positivity of it all. That's not positive anymore. Now you just got hobbled guys trying to do too much. And so that's what the problem is. None of the guys are actually healing from anything, but they all got to play 48 minutes a game to keep up with what it is he demands. And then the back half of the roster is not developing properly if it's young players, or they're not getting in any rhythm at all. And then when you're forced to go to these guys, they can't do nothing because of it. It's just, you're not doing your job, coach, because you have to develop the entire team, not just the half that you believe in. So that's my take on the Knicks, man. I just don't expect them to win the next 2 games. They're lucky as hell to have won the first 2. But the second 2, I expect for the Indiana Pacers to tie up the series, man. I really do. But then again, the Pacers have shown, and this is why I ultimately picked the Knicks. The Pacers have shown that even when they're going up against a depleted basketball team, they'll play down to the level of the opponent off the strength of their unwillingness to play any defense. Whoever's on the floor for the Knicks is going to score more than they normally do, because the Pacers are going to allow them to. So that, in and of itself, makes you not trust the Pacers. I just want to put that out there. I don't trust the Pacers at all. But at home, fully healthy, with the exception of Mathurin, who's been out for months, you got to assume that they're going to take care of a depleted Knicks team. You got to expect them to tie this series up, man. And so that's really what I got to say. The Knicks are very, very blessed to have won the games they won in this series. And now that their team is starting to miss some real key pieces, I don't think they have enough in this situation. They need OG to hurry up and come back. He got to play Game 5, in my opinion, if there is a Game 5. For all I know, they win the next 2 and it's no more Game 5s. But assuming this goes down the way I think it is, Pacers are winning Game 3, Pacers win Game 4, and then they're going to need OG Anunoby to come back in that game when it comes down to it. Because if he don't, they can find themselves down 2-3 with a Game 6 to determine their season. And it won't be for no other reason than the fact that they just couldn't keep people on the floor to stay healthy, and that was predictable. So I like the Villanova guys. You know, you got to expect Josh Hart to keep doing this. He's one of the better people to have in that situation. As I said, when we drafted Josh Hart, he's made out of stone. One of the best conditioned athletes out there, and he's developed extremely well. And his extreme strengths really help you as a guard. He's rebounding over centers. And then you like how some of the other players have played in the series. You know, Dante DiVincenzo has had a fantastic series thus far, hitting shots, playing well above what you would expect from him. And of course, Hartenstein is playing like I knew he would back when I told y'all about 6 years ago that we should pick him up as a Laker fan. When he was a role player on the back of the Cleveland bench, I told people to pick him up. And nobody listened to me, and now look what he turned into. It is what it is, man, but these guys are going to have to play so much better, and none of them can get hurt. None of them get in foul trouble because the Knicks are depleted to that degree. They need McBride to play very well. It's just, and if Brunson can't go, now you're relying upon all those other guys to make up for it while all that defense is now pointing at them. So they definitely need Brunson on the floor at all times, and I just don't know if he's going to be healthy enough to finish the series if he don't take a game or two off to heal his wound. So this is the worst I've felt about a team that's up 2-0, maybe ever. Like, maybe ever, man. Because you just know this series is headed back to Indy. Indy's damn good at home. And they have a lot of potency offensively that you should, in theory, not be able to keep up with the pieces missing. That the Knicks are going to likely be missing. So, yeah, man, I'm not feeling good about the Knicks right now. Never mind that they're up in the series. They're just losing too many pieces. So we'll see how this plays out, man. If they could squeeze away to get game 3, boy, will that save their season, in my opinion. That'll save everything, because then you can potentially end the series early, maybe get lucky and sweep, or get lucky and get them in 5, and then heal up for an opportunity to play Celtics or the Cavaliers, however that goes. So that's what I'm looking at there. And then, of course, tonight you got game 3 of the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. And I don't know if Rudy Gobert is coming back, but judging by what we saw in game 2, I don't even know if it matters. He got Defensive Player of the Year, but that team looked better without him on the floor defensively. That was some of the best defense I've seen in my life. And he was somewhere enjoying real life, you know, his son being born. For which I heard what, what's his name, Agent Zero had to say, Gilbert Arenas had to say about that. I thought Gilbert was trolling. Half the time Gilbert's takes are really trolls. He really is trolling. I don't think he was actually serious when he said that. I think a lot of people thought he was serious, and I think he allowed them to feel that way to continue to garner attention for his troll behavior. But he is a troll. Sometimes he be saying stuff that I don't agree with to such a degree till I have to step back and say, yo, he did that just to continue this charade of being disagreeable. He doesn't actually believe what he's saying, because when he really gets in his bag that makes sense, he's smarter than most of the people around him. So it's like, why would you have such a stupid thought? That's part of his genius. He wants people to think he's stupid, and he wants people to think that he's serious when he's trolling in a lot of cases. But the reality is, he's one of the smarter people out there. So I didn't think he was really serious when he said that. But you know how it goes. Sometimes people just say stuff and you wonder what the hell is coming out of their mind, and that's exactly what they were thinking, that you would wonder what the hell is coming out of their mind. And so Gilbert Arenas is a guy with several children, and he's very much intricate in their lives, and they are both, his daughter and his son are thriving right now in basketball. Both of them probably be professional very soon. So I don't think he was serious about the kid in regards to Rudy Gobert prioritizing his son over this playoff game. That ain't a game 7, it ain't the NBA Finals. He's prioritizing what matters in life. And judging by the actions of Gilbert Arenas, he knows what he should be doing. Regardless of what he's telling all of us, he knows better. So that's what I want to say to all of y'all. I just think Gilbert was trolling. And I think he's got most people thinking he's serious, just like he had me thinking he was serious about certain things that I now believe. He was trolling it out. So that's what I want to say about Agent Zero. But back to the game tonight, you know, I just think the world of the Minnesota Timberwolves right now, just like everybody else. I think I'm caught up in the recency bias of how well they've been playing too, because right now I don't see nobody beating them, not even the Celtics. Especially the way the Celtics look against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't see them beating them. And you know, I was taking a look at OKC, and you know, Dallas took care of them a couple days ago, even though Dallas has some of the same issues New York is having right now. A couple of key players going down, including Luka Doncic, who really hobbled through that game there. So I'm worried about the Dallas Mavericks as well. But nevertheless, I don't think OKC looks as good as Minnesota, nor do they have the bigs to kind of deal with what's going to be coming down the pipeline playoff-wise, in my opinion. They'll be lucky to be able to beat Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, as small as they look in there. But, you know, that's just what it is. They have the picks to address that in the offseason, so I'm pretty sure they're going to be much better next year, which means they probably should be title favorites very soon. But nevertheless, looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves, the point is the rest of the Western Conference, after they beat the Denver Nuggets, shouldn't be able to beat them. That's the moral of the story. I got the Minnesota Timberwolves initially losing in this round in 6, but if they get this game tonight, I don't see them. I definitely don't see them coming back from an 0-3 deficit. So, assuming all of that goes exactly the way I think it will, and Minnesota wins tonight, I got Minnesota going to the finals, and I don't think Boston can beat them. I don't think the Knicks can beat them. I definitely don't think the Cleveland Cavaliers can beat them, which means I got the Minnesota Timberwolves being your NBA champion this season. If they can beat the Denver Nuggets, I legitimately don't think they have any more competition that can actually stop them. Now, a lot of things can happen, including injuries, for which we're clearly seeing, that can get in the way. But the way they played defense in that last game without Rudy Gobert, I'd be very surprised if that healthy team playing that way can't beat the rest of the field that's available right now. I'd be very surprised. They're just better. They're better. And I like the Knicks a lot. Don't get it twisted. Jalen Brunson, I still trust with the basketball in his hands, probably more so than most. And as long as he's on the floor, I think any possession can go left for you if you're going against him. I really believe that. As long as he's on the floor, you're in danger. However, with him dealing with injury issues and his team becoming depleted, I got my concerns, of course, as you're hearing, that they'll even be able to get out of this series against the Pacers. They just might be too depleted to even get out of the series. So, obviously, that would just shoot the Knicks right into the Celtics, the green idiots, right into the finals, in my opinion, which I think they're probably going any damn way. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now, man. I hope the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Celtics, by the way, but I don't. I said Celtics in 6. Nothing's changed. Not in that regard. I don't see nothing changing there. But just the same, when I look at the Minnesota Timberwolves to get back on track, Denver tonight is going to have to solve some key issues, some key puzzles here. And I don't know if they're anywhere closer to figuring these things out. They certainly couldn't do it with altitude and a home court advantage. I don't know how the hell they're going to do it in the land of the Wolves. Now, this is the defending NBA champion. You don't expect for them to get swept. But when a team has your number, as they clearly shown us, you ain't beating them. And it looks to me that the Minnesota Timberwolves had their number no different than they had the Lakers number, no different than the Lakers had the Pelicans number, no different than the Pelicans had the Kings number. You get the point. It's just sometimes when teams can't beat you, they really don't. They just don't. And so that's where we're at. I'm wondering if the Denver Nuggets don't get a game tonight, then I got them getting swept. I don't see them with their back against the wall overcoming some of these issues. I really don't. So this is a Game 7-like game for the defending champions. And man, you just wonder what this actually means for the NBA going forward. Because a team with 2 centers winning the NBA championship means a shift in the overall thinking of how it takes to defend and win a championship. Now you're going to see teams valuing centers more so, sort of like the 80s back in the day, in the 70s, when you had all these super centers winning in championships and MVPs. If you don't have centers on your team, apparently you can't win. If you look at what's been going on these last couple of years, apparently you can't win. So I just think we return to the big man era. That's what happens if the Minnesota Timberwolves win the NBA championship. And I think that that's an optical illusion because, as I told my Laker family this morning, the reason why I really think the Minnesota Timberwolves are as good as they are is because they have Anthony Edwards leading the charge with those centers. Not those centers. The centers are the role players. With all due respect to Karl Towns, who's an all-star in this league, you're a role player. A very high-level role player. Second star. But those bigs are not the centerpiece of what the Minnesota Timberwolves do. They just carry the heavy lifting. It's that closer that makes it impossible for teams to beat them. You replace Anthony Edwards with some random shooting guard, and they don't get out of the first round. So when you start building your team around trying to make sure you have centers to match them, you could have the centers to match them. If your shooting guards, with all due respect, KCP, you're getting run over any damn way. And so I'm just wondering if the NBA is going to take the bait And you start seeing in the draft this year centers going early than they need to because the NBA will be reacting to what I think could be possible right now. And then from there, you start seeing small forwards sliding down the boards being some of the best picks in the draft, because at the end of the day, those wings are very talented if they're taken so far behind some of those bigs who are not as talented, but will probably be at a premium because of this result. So that's what I'm saying to you guys. I think this could affect the NBA draft quite a bit, especially since it's considered a lesser draft. You start seeing these centers going early, and you start seeing some of these nice wings, some of the solid wings and shooters and stuff like that starting to go later. That could shake up the NBA in a major way, especially if any of those guys that slip pop. That could shape up the NBA differently, boy. If the number 17th overall picks end up being the rookie of the year or something like that, which is totally possible in a draft like this. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm just curious to see if people won't take the bait. Because at the end of the day, you can match up a bunch of centers, but if you don't have the Anthony Edwards piece and you're trying to follow the model, you're going to fail. You need that piece. Do not let the smooth taste fool you. Without 5, the Timberwolves die. Straight up. It's all about Ant-Man, in my opinion. And so that's what we'll see, man. Maybe the Denver Nuggets come back and put all that to rest by winning the series somehow. But I don't see that right now at all. I really don't see that. You got to win 4 out of 5 against this team. And just like I said about my Lakers when we were in the same situation, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. You need some injury luck to work that out for you. And so we'll see if the Denver Nuggets can turn this into a 2-1 series. Of course, we'll have a lot more confidence in them if they figure it out tonight and get this first game on the road. But to have dropped both of those games in altitude, Denver has to feel depleted in a different kind of way than they felt probably since becoming successful, man. They got to feel it. And judging by how their point guard position is starting to wean off with these injuries, Reggie Jackson, Murray, you have to wonder if they are actually equipped for what's coming at them, or are they just leaving guys like Mike Conley to kind of be guarded by people that are not even supposed to be guarding them, that kind of thing. It could be interesting tonight. I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes open for both of these basketball games tonight. Let's double back to the Boston Celtics. I'm not surprised to see the Celtics not do well here in this first 2 games. They won the first one in blowout fashion and lost the second one in blowout fashion and gave up home court advantage in doing so. Now they got to go back to Cleveland 1-1. I'd imagine they're going to win one of those games at the very least, probably both of them if we're being honest. But they have chinks in their armor. That's the point. It ain't about can they lose against the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's can they beat the rest of the field. And my belief is that if they're going to continue to have Porzingis issues, if he's not going to be healthy, they cannot win. I don't know that they can win the championship if he is healthy, but they definitely can't win the championship if they can't get him back on this court. So can they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers? I believe so. I think the Cavaliers are a try-hard team against these Celtics. They've won a fantastic game, but this is kind of how I felt when the Miami Heat won a game against the Celtics in Game 2 last series. Didn't seem realistic to me. And I'm going to say the same thing about the Cavs. It just doesn't feel realistic right now. Even though they got that game, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the only game they get. It just is what it is. The Celtics own the East. The question is will they beat that team out west that's going to be facing them? That's the question. I don't doubt that they can beat whoever's left. The Knicks, with all due respect, I like the Knicks. I would love to see the Knicks beat the Celtics. That would make me so very happy. But I don't think that's realistic, especially with the injuries they're having. And the Pacers ain't got a shot in hell. There's no chance in hell. So that's really what it comes down to. I don't think the Pacers will probably get a game in that series. So the Celtics have a very easy path to the finals. But if they got to run into them Wolves, I think I picked the Wolves to win the series, man. And I can't wait to see Jaylen Brown and Anthony Edwards go at each other, because that's the battle of Georgia right there. Them Georgia shooting guards. Powerful dudes. They're going to definitely take a pound of flesh out of one another. But I just feel like there's a lot that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be able to do defensively with Jim McDaniels and Gobert and those guys. Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They're going to be able to lock up them Celtics. They're going to lock him up. And Drew Holiday is going to have an interesting matchup because he's likely going to have to be on somebody that doesn't require that level of defense against him, if that makes any sense. Like, he's going to put him on Mike Conley. It's a waste of his defense. You're definitely not going to put him on Ant-Man not for too long. Probably throw Ant-Man with different looks, but, you know, it's one of those things where it's just like the Celtics have the talent in theory, but the way the Minnesota Timberwolves are playing right now, and the way the Celtics have been dropping game twos, you just have to wonder if they're really that. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really wonder that about the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. I'm not wondering if they're really that. They're showing me they are. So unless something changes tonight and Denver wins the game and then we see a little regression from the Minnesota Timberwolves, I have to assume Minnesota's just going to win. They're just going to win. And so we'll see if it all plays out that way. Still a lot of basketball to go between now and then. Injuries can really tell the story. I don't think Minnesota Timberwolves are exempt from injury issues. Of course, they were missing McDaniels and Naz Reid last year, and we saw how their team looked without those two. They can't sustain without them. That still stands today. So they're going to need those guys to be healthy for their dreams to come true. And like I said, they're not the greatest bet to stay healthy, to be honest with you. So injuries can tell the story for all these teams. None of the teams that are left are great bets to stay healthy. That's what I think can throw a monkey wrench in what we're looking at here. None of these teams. You know, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, an amazing superstar, he was injury prone for the first half of his career thus far. He missed an average like 35 games a season. This has been the healthiest he's been. I don't think he's the greatest bet to stay healthy. Lou Dort always hurt. You know what I'm saying? So you just go up and down these teams. Each and every one of these teams got issues like that. Dallas Mavericks, we've seen Kyrie miss weeks at a time. You know, like I said, Luka Doncic, he's now hurt. He's playing through it, but he's hurt right now. And then I look at, who else was it that got hurt on the Dallas Mavericks? It was Maxi Kleber. He's hurt right now with the shoulder injury. He probably won't be back for the series. And then there was someone else that also got hurt as well with the Dallas Mavericks. So they're starting to drop players left and right. I think it was Daniel Gafford, who has a finger or something like that. They got hurt in the last game. So I'm wondering, man, I don't know. I really don't know if the Dallas Mavericks are the greatest bet to get out of their series, even if they can beat OKC, because the injury issues are starting to pile up for them, just like they're starting to pile up for the New York Knicks. So, yeah, man, I just don't think the story's been told yet. I think the team that looks like they're the best right now is starting to be established, but there's a lot of basketball to be played between now and the end of these finals. So I wouldn't be surprised if the script flips once again. But I've run out of time, you guys. I think I can probably delete a video that's already uploaded and probably get right back to it. So I may be able to do that. But for now, signing out, BDF44. I thank you all for watching, and I'm out.